The following rant is cut from my previous video discussing the world building and philosophical principles of Angel's Egg and Dark Souls. I thought I made the other video too long, and honestly, it's too long as is, so I decided to cut it and upload it here as its own video. That being said, obvious context is missing, so just know this is meant to be a compare and contrast exploring how subtle changes in world design are used by directors to deliver different messages about themes and emotions to the viewer, and more specifically, in the context of how some media manages to create what I like to describe as liminal worlds, which engrave themselves deep in the observer's psyche. If you found anything I said here to be moderately interesting, please consider checking out the main video on my channel. Thank you.
For the most part, I think it's probably the closest thing. But this is out a little bit, is I want to talk about Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which is a game I have a lot of problems with from a gameplay standpoint. But it captures this liminal, uneasy feeling very well. So, for those less familiar with it, the game starts with your player character going to meet their friends at a hospital because they want to see their teacher. And then while at the hospital, the world ends. And you know, the game, it tries to give some explanation. Maybe I just didn't get it, or maybe it's intentionally vague. But the world ends, and it's going to reset. It doesn't end like people just disappear. It's like God shows up and turns the Earth into a sphere desert, a sphere desert, or Tokyo at least. And so, that's the prologue. And then you open up, and you're in this new world, and you're all alone. And there's literally no one to guide you or look out for you. And you don't really even have an objective marker. You don't have a goal. You had friends at the beginning, but they're gone. And so you start walking around and you figure, okay, I guess I'll look for my friends. That's the only goal I can think of. But while you're walking around and you're looking for your friend, you can, part of the game is you can recruit demons who are companions. So the only other people in this world are demons, right? You don't have companions. But you can recruit demon, and they're mostly human. They have certain human features. They have personalities, and you can talk with them. Well, we can't talk with them about dialogue, but you can talk at them. you can give them commands. But you recruit, the first character you recruit is this demon called High Pixie. And her goal is she wants to go meet up with the other pixies, and you can help her with that goal at a park. And then, I remember the game starts, you leave the hospital, you're so alone. You have no objective. You don't know what to do at all. You just want to turn the game off, but then you turn hollow, right? That's why I like that theory from Dark Souls so much. Okay, so you help Pixie out, and you bring her to the place that she wants to go, and you can choose to keep her as a companion. You can ask her to stay with you, and of course you say yes. I only said yes because I didn't want to be alone anymore. I wasn't even thinking about her combat abilities or anything like that. I was just thinking like I don't want to be alone right now. Like this isn't safe. I don't have a goal. I don't have goals, right? And even as someone who considers themselves as introverted as they could be, I really wanted a friend in Nocturne. I wanted someone next to me, and you never have that. So I asked Pixie to stay, and so she stays at the party, and then I guess you just keep going forward. You walk around until you figure something out. And then I remember we ran into a battle, and in the battle, she died in the middle. And I ended up winning and finishing the battle. And I didn't realize that at the time that you can just revive companions. That was an easy thing to do. You just have to give them some, HP after battle. And she lives. And so she died, the battle ended. I thought she was permanently dead. I thought that I permanently lost this member of my club, of my team. And at first I was so sad. And I wasn't even sad because I wasn't sad because I lost like a tactical asset. I was sad because I thought I lost a friend, a companion. And I swear to God, the death of High Pixie in Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne is the saddest video game death I've ever been a part of. It was way scarier than, or like Joel in Last of Us, or, Aerith, or whatever dramatic video game death, Noble 6, whatever dramatic video game death you want to think of. That is one that has stuck with me way more than any other game. And, that's something. So I just want to take a moment and give props to Nocturne, because I think that comes very close to capturing this feeling of loneliness I'm trying to describe in Angel's Egg and Dark Souls that I don't see anywhere else. I don't know. I just want to take a little detour there and give credit where it is due. Actually, I do want to talk about Nocturne a little bit more because I think this gives a really interesting opportunity to compare and contrast different types of loneliness. Because Nocturne and Walking Dead, they open up the same way basically. A character, they leave the hospital and they find that the world has ended. And The Walking Dead, you wake up from the coma, but Rick, he has a very clear goal from the offset, right? It's, how do I survive? Can I find friends? Can I find a group? And that's his goal. In Nocturne, contrasting, you don't really have a goal when the world ends. Like, you want to find your goal, you want to find your friends, but the world is so foreign that you don't even know how to begin that, really. And I think that's an interesting compare and contrast, and why, even though The Walking Dead, right, zombie outbreak and the world is destroyed and billions are dead, that's terrifying. But you're still grounded in the world, and there's a lot of things that you can interact with and live with. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. Compare and contrast how just subtle things in Walking Dead make it so much less scary than these other series I'm trying to talk about, Nocturne and Angel's Egg and Dark Souls. And I'm not even shitting on The Walking Dead. I like The Walking Dead a lot. I think it's a good series. It's a good show for the most part. I'm not using it here as a negative example. I'm using it here as a literary compare and contrast tool, because I think it's interesting how those subtle differences change the world and the way you feel about it so much. Okay, so that's what I have to say about the way these worlds create detachment.